There we go, brother. What's happening? We got a little vertical action happening today with good old Ryan. What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm doing good, brother. Doing really, really good. I feel like, we're kind of the like little TikTok, little Instagram reel, so we'll go a little vertical today. But I'm doing spectacular, my man. How you doing this morning, brother?
I'm doing great, brother. I'm doing great. Today, I think it's going to be actually very cool. So follow you, watching, listening, depending on when you're consuming this. We had a guest on scheduled for today. End up being the guest can't make it. So we started to put out feelers about business development in a market like today, and asking some business development managers, some VPs, as to what they see as the top five things in today's world of logistics that teams and business managers and development managers need to focus on. And Ryan, I mean, some of the things that came back were pretty cool because it was what we've been talking about yesterday. Some of the things we've talked about a million times, so we're going to kind of skip those. But I think all in all, the five are actually pretty damn cool, and to have that kind of knowledge come back to us, I think it says a lot about what we're trying to help people with this show. And I know we talk about a lot of the same things, but hopefully today it'll bring into a different manner when we talk about the title plus then the subject that they kind of gave us.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. And Dan, it's just a testament to the things that we do talk about and the topics that are actually important, right? Because some of these people that we asked, they've never watched our show before, and some people they've watched our show before. So for them to actually talk about these top five topics, to them that is really important. It's really I don't know, it's very encouraging for like myself, yourself as well, and everybody who's watching that, we're providing good value to everybody who's out there. And with
Yeah,
this information that we gathered and doing this market research that we've learned together is like it can be translatable when the market does flip, because at the end of the day we always got to talk about this. The market's not going to stay down forever. It's
yeah,
going to be somebody's going to be favoring like that. So I'm excited for this. I'm excited to share with the audience this morning, and if you're listening on the podcast later on, whichever way you're consuming this, would love to get your feedback too, as well as your
yeah,
opinions on these.
yeah. And I mean, it'll be the last week we talk about a down market. I actually, shout out to Chris Jolly. I saw a post from him the other day where he said, enough about talking about the down market. What are you doing to turn your business around, kind of thing. And I think that's where our mind's going to go from here moving forward. However, as you know, in speaking to some of your colleagues and people in the market, people are frustrated. They're I'm not going to say angry, but they're frustrated. They're probably feeling down. They're kind of getting into that, summer's coming to an end. They're feeling like there's no traction. Well, to me, this is the time where things actually start ramping up because people are now going to start getting back from vacation in 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever. And now is when things really start heating up. So, are you ready to jump into this, brother? What do you think?
Let's do this, brother.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So, number one, the first thing that came back was diversification of services, right? And it's funny because when that came back, I mean, you and I kind of looked at each other and went, "All right." So not even knowing that this, because obviously we had a guest that couldn't show up, um, but it's kind of like we talked about the customer value journey yesterday, and in essence, that diversificating your services, um, which to me is super cool that was the first one that came back. So like building new relationships with present customers in different areas of the total supply chain network. You know what I mean?
Mhm. And I couldn't agree with that more because like we talked about this yesterday, and you know, the one big mistake that I recommend to anybody out there is just selling one mode, that just one thing
Yeah.
only. And think about this, Dan. Like I always like to talk about like different industries so that we can like make the point from there, right? It's like going to your local coffee shop and they just sell coffee. They don't sell donuts, they don't sell pastries, they don't sell those add-ons. It's like going into Foot Locker and they don't sell shoe cleaner or socks. You have to have those different things that are going to differentiate you from like
Mm.
the services, right? It's just like if McDonald's, even like people talk about like places with like limited menus, like I think In and Out in the States, they only have like five things. But at the end of the day, like, are you gonna have to go buy a burger here and then go get a drink over here and go get your fries over there? It's like no, like you're not gonna be. So that's what I kind of related to. Like you always want to have those diversifying like different things of services for your customers because you just never know what they're going to be going through.
And then I think as time goes on, that diversification gets wider. If you look at like, if you're in Canada, Tim Hortons used to be coffee and donuts. Then it was like muffins and croissants, and then it went to sandwiches and breakfast sandwiches. Like for a long time, Tim's didn't have breakfast. Then it was breakfast sandwiches and wraps, and now they're competing with the McDonald's for breakfast. You look at McDonald's, they never had salads. Now they got salads and apple slices for kids and Happy Meals. And like all of these things is the diversification that we're talking about. And it's interesting because when he said diversification of services, he says explore new services or niches within the logistics industry as a whole that might be less affected by the downturn. For example, considering offering specialized transportation for essential goods, maybe warehousing solutions for e-commerce businesses or last mile delivery service. Diversifying your services can help your team tap into unserved markets and create a competitive edge.
There
Perfect.
we go.
That's exactly what we talked about yesterday. Um, the second one was cost efficiency and lean operations. And this
Mm,
one's interesting because he says in a down market, focus on optimizing operational costs, evaluating supply chains, transportation routes, and inventory management processes for customers, and figure out where they can reduce expenses without compromising quality, right? Implement lean methodologies to eliminate waste and increase efficiency, which can enhance your team's competitiveness. Now, to me, you go into a customer, you do some of this, and then you ask for a reference letter and you send that to another prospect who's facing similar issues. You've got yourself the workings of a gold mine in a market like today. Because I think at this point, Ryan, traffic managers, logistics managers, VPs of logistics fully understand what they set up now is going to bring them through that next climb, right? Because
yeah.
right now we're kind of in the bottom of the valley, if you will, right? But the industry, like you said right at the beginning, the industry is going to come up. So right now is a time when people are setting themselves up for when capacity tightens again, because it will. And then I think at this point, we all know that.
100%. Well, Dean has always said on the Wednesday shows, that, when I asked him a couple of weeks ago, what should people do in this down market? Because it feels like we're always doing doom and gloom. It's like build those relationships. It changes a constant in our industry. And coming back to that, I love that what that logistics manager, sorry, that business development manager said about being lean and understanding like for an operator, for anybody who's watching out there, like talk to your customers, like figure out a way to take off their plate. Like if you can actually become so ingrained in their logistics where you run it. Like I know some companies where, that actual 3PL or 4PL, well, that 3PL becomes a 4PL. They arrange all the orders. So that's another like salary that company doesn't have to worry about because, Dan, one of the biggest things that I've kind of seen in this down market myself is the layoffs, which is like really sad for people, right? Because like that's where people look at first where to cut costs because the revenue is not coming in. So if you can kind of get there and be like, hey, we can keep your team like as is, let us do analysis, like cost analysis, and see where we can look at some efficiencies and things like that. So you're bringing value to them because, Dan, nobody wants to lay anybody off. So if you came with a solution where, hey, we can keep your team running, they're going to value that. That's people over profits. And, Damon from Centurion is always about that. Right. So when you look at those kind of different things from being lean and stuff, because people think like getting lean means that, oh, you got one person doing the job of two people. No, that's going to lead to burnout. So I just
Yeah,
I love this
it's a
topic. I
great
thought it was
point.
really, really interesting.
Yeah. And you know what? Also, you look at the cost efficiency in operations. And I think cost efficiencies, especially cost efficiencies, especially in today's market, I do believe you have to add an element of marketing and training in there, right?
Yes.
I think if you are not helping your team get better, you're really missing a boat. And we'll kind of talk about that in just a second. But that boat that you're missing is critical because right now, people typically in these markets, they pull back from advertising. They pull back from training. They start really winding in the expenses, and that can be very costly because when your team's not motivated in a down market, things can really turn and turn fast. If your team's motivated in a down market, they might turn, but the new addition of customers and the continuous like evolution of that, the team building and generating that energy, and whether it be from marketing, calls coming to them, content, which we're going to dive into next week, or whatever the case may be, your team gets energized and they continue down that direct path of building new clientele.
100%. Couldn't agree more with that. You have a team, like we said, like what I've kind of learned in this industry and every kind of industry is you set that team up that you want to go in the trenches with. And once you're in the trenches and you're working with them, you're going to go all in and they're going to do everything to do because you look at like the industry, like I've seen like during the pandemic and everything like that, that's when you see like companies were giving out big fat paychecks for like nothing. So everybody, and kudos to them, kudos to those who took those opportunities and excelled in them. But when you find a company that you really can truly believe in and you can actually like move forward with, then you can actually be like, okay, well, they're investing in me. It's not just our customers. So when a company invests in their employees, just imagine those employees, what investment that they're going to give to that company, by bringing on clients and having that conversation. It's just a spoken wheel. But if you start a new place and they're like, oh, just make calls and I don't know, blah, 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 whether training or content or there's nothing to go and see. And even if you look at their LinkedIn profile page for the company page and there's nothing relevant there other than a picture of a truck, that they photoshopped in, that they kind of move forward, then it's like, well, what is really the message here? Right? Because if you don't invest in that, it's not going to be feasible.
Yep, I agree. I agree completely. Number three, we're not going to really get into this because I think you've already mentioned it. Um, Dean's mentioned it. We've kicked this dead horse, and no horses were hurt in the filming of this show. Um, we've kicked this dead horse a million times, which is strategic partnerships and collaborations. Right? I think we can all agree collaborations and strategic partnerships is where it's at. You look at just in the music industry, how many collaborations are going on now,
Yeah,
and what it's doing to these people's careers. The more you collaborate, the more strategic. I think the key word in that is strategic partnerships you have. I think the more successful you're going to be, Ryan.
100%.
Yeah. So brings us to number four, which I think is and maybe I'm biased on this a little bit, brother.
Just
But
a
I
little bit.
think technology upgrades. This, I think, is one of the biggest factors for delivering a consistent message for follow up. Fortune is in the follow up, my friends. It's not in the outreach, it's in the follow up, the consistency. And I think when he says invest in technology solutions that can enhance your team's efficiency and competitiveness, two key parts competitiveness, right? This might include upgrading your track analytics system, improving predictive maintenance for your fleet, or adopting automation technologies for your warehouses, leveraging technologies that can lead to streamlined processes and improved customer experiences through CRMs and a multitude of other things. So with that, I look at it and I say, you know, I believe, as sales reps in today's industry, have to have systems that work for us to help us achieve goals. I think the days are gone where we have systems that, in essence, work against us, Ryan, right? Where it's time consuming. We feel like it's a chore rather than a tool, right? There's so many tools out there today. And when we get to market research and customer insights, I know you're going to talk about one in particular, but the tools out there, like our system Bridger, and in no which way are we just sitting here going to plug Bridger all day. But the fact is, when you have people jump into the system and being able to adopt it within 30 minutes and finding that progression within an hour and watching their engagement grow, watching their connections grow, and setting up their day in less than 3 seconds, never missing a follow up. Like you add all of those and stack those on top of each other, and Bridger is the number one CRM in the market today. Hands down, that's my belief. I'll let you go.
That was pretty short. So I think when it comes to technology, and yesterday I was on. I love how this is the topic here because yesterday I was on Teresa's show, Case of the Mondays, and we talked about technology. And so I'm going to go out with two ways because I definitely want to talk about Bridger as well. And the first thing is going to be from a carrier side or a broker side, or what are you investing for your customer to make their day easier? And for me, we're always like the one thing we're talking about here is always making the relationship with your customer the best so that you can optimize it. Like, if there's no relationship there, then you can invest in all these things and they don't work at all. But for me, the biggest change that I've seen, Dan, is like when we went to like GPS tracking, when we're using like, instead of like check calls, just imagine the amount of times the check calls. And, I said this on the show yesterday, and I'll repeat it again, was that the trust that I remember when we used to do check calls, and the trust that we didn't have for truck drivers, and I've learned the appreciation of them because it is a lonely road out there. Just imagine if they accidentally fall asleep, but they're literally outside the dock. They're just sleeping in their cab, and being able to actually track and be like, okay, he's here, and send it to that customer. That literally saved maybe 15 to 20 minutes. Sometimes you can't get a hold of them. You're blowing up their ops and things like that. So technology, it's like, what is it going to save you?
Yeah.
Right? And if anybody
Yeah.
who does refrigerated shipments, getting those instant reefer downloads right away to know that, okay, this is running at a constant rather than sending them over to a Thermo King after wasting maybe 3-4 hours just to get that reefer download and then look at a claim and stuff like that. So you're looking at ways to work smarter, not harder. And that's where we kind of come into Bridger as well from the sales aspect that, we're having people that we're talking to. And this is something that we've all worked on for the last like 18 months or so. And to be able to actually not lose your leads, I think is one of the biggest things here. Because for me, myself, when I start my day and I'm like, holy crap, okay, I've got X amount of prospecting to do, but oh, I don't have a phone number for this person. Let me go down Google, let me go down Hunter. And then you realize that, it took me an hour to get one phone number. You call that number, it's out of service. So you
Yeah.
look at those things and you trade the time for what you're kind of going on. And when you're investing in technology for yourself, you've got to look at it like, okay, how am I going to get to my goals faster? What is it that I need to get to my goals faster? And what kind of technology can I bring in here? And that's why I really believe that Bridger is that tool, because for me, it was like, okay, I can see where all my contacts is. I go into Bridger myself every day and I see every single contact that I need to do. It's just I need to put in the work, Dan. So,
Yeah.
I think technology, we can use it. Everyone talks about AI and you can use all these things to make your day simpler, but you got to remember still, and this will probably come up on the Thursday portion, you still got to do the work. But it just
Yeah.
makes doing the work a lot easier, right? So,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when you talk about technology upgrades, I mean, I truly believe AI just helps us get things done faster.
yeah.
That's all it is. We talked about it yesterday. We're going to dive into it a lot next week when we talk about content. But, how do you get a message out there? How do you attract your ideal clients faster than you would have 2 years ago? Right? AI, whether that, the big one that everybody is Chat GPT, right? Now, again, most technologies are only as good as the information you put in, right? If you put shit in, you get shit out. And that's just most technologies are like that. I love the fact that, technology upgrades. I mean, listen, are they costly? Sure. Right. Like I think of how many memberships I have to monthly technologies that I use, Canva being one, right? Like for thumbnails, for all this kind of stuff, for reports, for, whiteboards, for customer ideas, for all this. I mean, you can use Canva for a multitude of things, um, but it's another subscription, right? It's kind of like TV. Nowadays, a lot of people don't even have cable. It's like Netflix and a little streaming device, and that kind of thing. And you get all the TV you want because you watch what you want when you want to watch it. And I think this is where technology comes into play. Is it allows us to do what we want when we want at a faster pace than we were able to do it 10 years ago. You talked about the GPS. That to me was one of the biggest savers of any technology that has come forth, is being able to see where the driver's at. Like, and
Yep.
you think, and you said, you blow up the ops. You think of how that goes right into number two, cost efficiency of lean operations. Like number two and number four, technology upgrades are so linked. And what technology can we give a team to reduce overhead in any capacity? Meaning, you get that done in 10 minutes instead of an hour. Now you have 50 minutes to get something else done. Do you know what I mean?
100%. No, I love it. And like we said, it comes back to working smarter and not harder. And when we're looking at these different tools and things like that, like you're talking about Canva, let's unpack that a little bit, Dan. What was the alternative if you want to make a thumbnail? You have to go into Photoshop, maybe watch like a YouTube video on it, and then let's call a spade a spade. You get discouraged from it. Some people would
Yep.
rather not do it than do it. But then, things like Canva that they just make that so simple for you. And then,
Yeah.
that's what the one thing that I also like, obviously we love Alex Hormozy, where it's just like, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You just have to you have to just create something and make it faster. And that's
Yeah.
all it is, but have a better
Yeah.
ROI on it. And, I think every technology, look at TV itself. I remember the days when we had like 60 channels and things like that. Now we have like so many options. I can't remember the last time, like, I think I only really watched sports on our cable TV. Right. So you look at these options on demand, things like that. But then again, it does have its negative things about it too. Like, that anticipation way from week to week and the technology making it so fast as well. Right. So
Yeah.
it's easy to get lost in the sauce a little bit. But
Yeah.
if you use technology and everything like that for your advantage and keep yourself optimized instead of, I like stacking wins. So it's like if you did all your touches already in the morning, it's just like, well, do a little bit more. You don't have to stop at that certain amount, right? Like keep it going and
Yeah.
kind of go from there. So love it.
Yeah. And there's another aspect to it too, right? There's the adoption aspect.
Yes.
Every piece of technology that you decide to use, dedicate yourself to learning that piece of technology. Um, you know, I think most report I read from, uh, I think it was most technologies people use 30 to 40% of what it's capable of because they don't understand how to use it or they don't spend the time learning how to use it. And
Yep.
if you're going to adopt a new technology, do yourself a favor and learn how to use it. Like get deep into it. Tell yourself over the next 5 days, I'm going to spend an hour a day learning it.
Yep.
And in 5, 6 hours, you can learn a hell of a lot about a system. That was the big thing with Photoshop that you just mentioned, where Canva is so much easier than Photoshop. But when you master Photoshop, it's a million times better than Canva.
Yep.
So it's two series of levels, if you will, none being better than the other. It's just you have a mastery level of Photoshop and you have a mastery level of Canva. There's always going to be more options in Photoshop, but the learning curve is so much bigger, right? So most technologies, the more it does, the more you have to learn, unless you have people that design it based on flattening learning curves. That's a big one. So don't just get a technology and don't adopt it. Adopt it into your daily routine to help you improve down the road, right? We talk about it all the time. 6 months from now, who's going to be that person using that piece of technology?
Exactly.
Which brings us into number 5, market research and customer insights. Conduct thorough market research to identify emerging trends and changing customers' needs. Listen to your existing customers and seek feedback to understand their pain points and requirements. Adapting your services to meet evolving demands can position your team as a valuable and responsive partner. Excuse me, even in a even in a down market. Pretty interesting. So I wanted to ask you, Ryan, because I know you use a tool. You've mentioned it once or twice, but share with me why you love this tool, what it is, and how people can get it.
Yeah, 100%. So backing up, like with the second part there says like, customers, giving that feedback and talking to them. And one of the biggest things that I've kind of learned in my career was talking to my customers and asking them like, what kind of outreach are they getting? What kind of information are they getting from other people who are calling, emailing them, and everything like that? And the constant was that they were tired of the copy and paste emails. They were tired of like the same scripted on phone calls. They were just tired of like not having that human and, kind of understanding that. So a tool that I started to look at, it's more of in the SaaS world. It's lavender.ai. And it's basically an email writing tool to actually make you a better writer at email. So we always kind of think it's, for me personally, Dan, it's something that's become less is more. because my emails are maybe 50 to 60 words max, rather than I used to have like 300, 400 word emails. And what it does is that you write an email, you put it into it's a Chrome extension, put it into the Chrome extension, and it'll grade you. Right, so it'll be like, okay, well, if you're gonna say very, just take that out, or like it'll grade you like out of 100. And my aim every time is trying to at least try to get a 95. It is really hard because then you get to a point of like, there's nothing in this email, right? But the way that I've set my career up in with using this tool is that I want to be able to actually get straight to the point and then leave. It's like when you make like a bank deposit and then you don't withdraw it right away. I just want to make deposits, and then leave, and then kind of pique that interest with everybody here. And we were talking with some really good friends yesterday who are going like to a pet expo next week to procure business. And one of the things I kind of told them was like, you know what, like send some emails with the trade show name with a question mark, and then let them know like, hey, I'm going to be wearing this shirt, I'm going to be wearing this hat and stuff like that to pique interest, right? Because at the end of the day, like nobody gets business right off the first call or the first email. No one's going to my message or my intention for every email that I sent is to book a scheduled meeting. There is no closing business over email. There is no like anything over video and things like that. And for me, Dan, during the pandemic, I realized that I wanted to we're talking about down markets, right? The pandemic was an up market, right? Everybody was reaching out. Like I talked to one of my friends who's in the industry. He reached out to 3M, and they were doing the PPE, right? So everybody's calling them for the PPE, and then the logistics manager told him like, I literally had 70 calls this morning. What makes you so special? And my buddy was just like, you know what? Nothing. And he just basically hung up because he was just like, I'm not going to compete with this is 70 calls in the morning at 1 o'clock and everyone's calling for that fresh thing. So for me, I looked at video marketing. SendSpark is a video marketing that I use because I want to be able to send videos to people, and then using Lavender to send better emails. Right. And for me, I understand that when I send better emails, I sound more clear and concise. And the ROI on that is that somebody can just read it on their cell phone and then be like, okay, I'll get back to them, rather than they have to scroll through their phone. And I think that's if we're doing any kind of messaging or anything like that, think about it how the receiver is going to view it. Because if it's going to be on their cell phone, 90 of us, like, I'll be honest with you, Dan, 9% or 99% of my emails, I look at it from my cell phone. Unless I'm like physically in front of my desk, and then I open up Outlook and I look at that and different things like that. So, Lavender AI, amazing software. You can go there, get like I think it's like a free trial or something like that to test it out. But that was something that I had to level up because I hated long-winded emails. So I took my weakness and I was like, you know what, I'm going to work on my weakness. And Dan, what you just said about Photoshop is like, you take that 5-6 hours, like we do video editing. I use DaVinci Resolve. I didn't just get into DaVinci Resolve and be like, okay, let me try the things I used to do in Premiere Pro. It should be the same, right? It's like getting into a Mercedes-Benz and getting into a Camry. Yes, it drives the same way, but hey, the wipers are probably on different sides, or like, your signals are probably on different sides. So you got to take that time to invest that in learning and education. And I'm a big advocate for somebody either using this show, using all the other shows, or using YouTube University. I know you used to do Automobile University, but if you're at home, definitely go on YouTube. YouTube is one of the biggest resources out there for that. But once again, there we go.
Man, I learned how to put in a pool and build a 40 by 20, Caribbean style cabana on YouTube, brother. It is the best place. I now, because I don't have a drive, I'm in YouTube University every night for about an hour and a half. Right. And I agree with you. I think that technology and there's, for all of you watching, listen, Google the AI technology. Ryan was saying about SendSpark. Great tool for video messaging. Even better, you can take the video and put it into AI tools where if you have your camera here, but you have a little teleprompter and you're not really good at scripting yourself, or you don't really know what to talk about, go to Lavender, write an email and turn it into a video script. And you can actually read the emails. So your eyes are actually below the camera. And then you put your video into this AI tool and it'll bring your eyes up. And nobody will know the difference. So, Ryan, I want to go back to number 4 for 1 second. And I know we're running out of time, but we were a little late getting on. The technology upgrades. I think as a sales rep, look at the technologies that are going to help you do things faster. So the barrier to entry is so wide now, right? You don't have to sit in front of a camera and try 17 times to get a message right. You can write it, you can put it below, and then you can use AI make your eyes go in contact with the lens. So people that are, nervous about sending emails, or am I going to seem too cocky or arrogant, they'll use lavender, and it'll give them the barrier of entry to get it done faster. And then in video, you can use AI tools to do that. You can use AI tools to even speak for you. Now, it doesn't have the tonality yet, but it's coming. It's really coming, brother. So there's a ton of upgrades that you can do. Just start Googling. And you know what? I learned about 99% of them on YouTube.
Yeah, yeah, and you know what? Like even for us, like we're constantly educating ourselves. Like you and I were supposed to get together this weekend, but we're literally canceling it because there's an event that we've been waiting for that we actually want to take in for education. We're blocking out like 2, 3 hours on Saturday to watch the Alex Hormozy 100 million leads like launch and stuff like that. And that's a dedication to us because like we can take that information, digest it however we want to digest it, and share with you guys as well. And bring it into our own businesses. So I think with these top 5 topics, I know we didn't have a guest today, but I feel like this was the next best option after that to have like their
Yeah.
opinions and things like that and share that with everybody. But yeah, I love this. This was amazing.
Done deal. Hey, for all of you watching and listening, remember, head out there to YouTube, subscribe to the show on YouTube. It's got a better broadcasting than our friends at the old LI situation, if you will. Until next time, my friends, tomorrow is Data Day. We've got the main man, Dean Kirk, and we've got Jeff coming back. Share a little data and how it incorporates into the customer value journey. Till tomorrow.